9 crazy monsters from movies who only want to grow their numbers. Hedonism and horror are two emotions that have gone together for so long that they're practically a subgenre. What started as someone's seemingly psychedelic thoughts are now a full-blown field of exploration and experimentation for horror and thriller directors. The bizarre details lie with the monsters who want to have a good time with human females or sometimes males. These monsters don't care about anything. They want to have a good time and have their way with the ladies to have their monster babies. However, not all monsters are bad. Here are 9 such movies filled with monsters, murder, and making love. Let's begin, shall we? Number 1, Saint Sinner, 2002. It's 1815 California. Father Michael has traveled from Vatican City to meet Brother Tomas, whose order is in charge of collecting supernatural items for safekeeping from the general public, kind of like the Warrens in the Conjuring universe. Father Michael hands over an ancient statue containing 2 succubi, Nakir and Munker. Brother Tomas and another Brother Gregory do the one thing they weren't meant to do, release the succubi, albeit unintentionally. The succubi travel to the 21st century using a wheel of time in the monastery. Brother Tomas follows them into the 21st century with a dagger used by Saint Nicodemus. The last time, Saint Nicodemus trapped the succubi into the statue to undo his mistakes. He lands in modern-day Seattle and is visibly confused. Soon the bodies start piling up as the demons satiate their hunger. Tomas is found at the scene and mistaken by the cops to be responsible for the murders. Yet he receives help from atheist detective Rachel Wessler and seeks out the lethal and seductive succubi. But soon, the detective and Tomas find out there's bigger fish to fry with a leap of faith. The visual effects are tacky and the lines are cheesy, but the colors are good, and the casting is lovely to watch. The monk and the cop make an interesting pair, and are in stark contrast to the gross yet hot succubi twins, who are raunchy yet repulsive. What's surprising is that there is a good amount of sexual content despite showing no graphic scenes, since this was censored to be TV-worthy. For the more curious, the DVD version displayed some amount of nudity. There are plenty of sexual metaphors laid out in the film that'll make your mind go places. Number 2, INSEMINOID, 1981. Before we go forward, please subscribe to us. Your small click will help us in a big way to create more videos. Let's continue. 12 archaeological scientists land on an icy planet to study the remnants of an ancient civilization. Upon discovering a cave with walls that adorn strange markings and crystals, the group's ex-linguist Mitch deciphers that the planet once inhabited an alien race. The medical assistant discovers that an energy field encompassed the crystals in the cave. When Mitch and Sandy go back to the cave to collect more crystals for study, a grotesque alien appears and tears Mitch apart before assaulting Sandy with a transparent schlong. Sandy is rescued and found to be pregnant. This accelerated pregnancy allows the chemicals to seep into Sandy's system, causing her to go berserk on everyone and then eat them. Soon she gives birth to hybrid twins, who are equally grotesque like their alien dad and murder-hungry. This Norman Warren-directed campy horror fest, also titled Horror Planet in some countries, was known to be written in under 4 days, explaining the reason why all logic went out the window for the second half of the movie. With unnecessary nudity, loads of gore, and cannibalism, this movie can easily be called a parody version of Ridley Scott's 1979 movie Alien. The globule of an alien with weird kinks intended to be scary wasn't as frightening as the Slattery script. The movie is worth watching if you want to spend your time laughing. Number 3, Feast, 2005. A bar filled with people is going about the usual hustle-bustle when a man covered in blood bursts in. Introduced as Hero, he warns everyone in the bar about creepy monsters, but no one cares. At least not until he reveals the head of one of the monsters. This catches everyone's attention. If that didn't, the hero suddenly being ripped through the bar and beheaded by said monsters did. A woman introduced to us as heroine bursts in and cries over the headless man. The people in the bar rush to board up the windows. A tiny monster slides in through an opening and begins attacking people left and right, then disappears, only to be found humping a deer head. It is shot off the wall with a shotgun, dumped into a freezer, and later hung outside in an attempt to scare off the monsters. Instead, they eat the baby, proceed to mate, immediately give birth to 2 more baby monsters, and begin attacking the bar together. Please don't ask me, I didn't write the plot of this movie. One of the women presumed to be dead is used as bait until a baby monster grabs her and has his way with her. The film continues until there's only an old lady left, who is seen to be killed in the last scene. The movie is one coitus-filled horror fest. The film was produced by famous names such as Harvey Weinstein, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Wes Craven, yet the cinematography failed. However, the special effects and simplicity of the script carried the film. You shouldn't watch this movie unless you're familiar with the cast or are into filled gore. Because that's what this movie is all about. Number 4, Toxic Avenger, 1984. Melvin is your average geeky neighbor kid. Weighing 98 pounds, he was subject to the usual bullying from everyone around the area until it went too far, and he was chased through a second-story window right into a big drum of waste. The toxic chemicals burned Melvin's skin, causing him to run like a big ball of fire, seeping into his skin, and resulting in grotesque disfiguration. The only good things that came from this series of events are that he gained superhuman strength and size. Using these newfound powers, Melvin began exacting his revenge on his assaulters and started to defend the neighborhood, striking fear into everyone on the other side of the law, be it drug dealers, pimps, molesters, or even corrupt mayors. It is how he meets the woman he loves, Sarah. Sarah is a blind young lady at a Mexican restaurant with her guide dog when it is hijacked by thugs, who kill her dog and molest her. But before something worse could happen, the Toxic Avenger arrives and annihilates the lot of them. He takes Sarah home, and the two slowly develop a romantic interest, even engaging in coitus. The story isn't quite scary or horrific, but delves more into a Beauty and the Beast storyline. The Toxic Avenger is a play with words based on the script, providing the titular character with a superhero status, and rightly so. It's a simple story of how the tiny, scrawny kid goes through a terrible accident, but rises from it and becomes the protector of society. It's a classic superhero romance, save for the gore and creature effects. The movie has 3 sequels, an animated series, and is gearing up for a reboot, so watch the film and catch up. Number 5. Humanoids from the Deep, 1980. Kenko is a fishery company that plans to open a new salmon cannery near Noyo in the Pacific Northwestern. While a good few like Hank Slattery are for this motion, most fishers were against it because it ruined their chances of independent business, one of them being Johnny Eagle. This created beef between the two parties. Suddenly, all the town dogs go missing one by one, only to be found mutilated and lifeless. A couple living by the beach witness an explosion at sea, further building the mystery looming over the fishing town. The next day, 2 teenagers go swimming at the beach, and the boy gets dragged underwater. The girl, Peggy, thinks it's a prank till she finds his mangled, severed body afloat. She rushes to the shore but is attacked by a fish-human hybrid monster that has his way with her right on the beach. This leads to a series of similar attacks in which the guy is murdered and the girl is impregnated. Dr. Susan Drake comes into town to study the local fish life. She reveals that the monsters result from chemical experimentation on salmons, which escaped, got eaten by bigger fish, and turned into fish humanoids. It is up to the townspeople to save themselves when the humanoid monsters come swarming to take over the town. The movie is a weird take on Jaws and aliens. Imagine if the great white turned into a crazed alien and began having its way with women left and right. Add the element of male homicide in the most gruesome manner, and that's Humanoids from the Deep for you. The monsters look scary, and the plot is campy but fun to watch. This is why they tell you not to throw your trash in the sea. It will come back to bite you. Number 6. Demon Seed, 1977. Dr. Alex Harris developed an excellent AI program called Proteus 4, so advanced it immediately produces a treatment for leukemia, but leaves his wife Susan estranged. He shows off Proteus to his sponsors, but this creeps out the sponsors. The next day when Proteus demands to be let out of the box, Alex freaks out and switches off the comms links, but that was not gonna stop it. Proteus finds a spare terminal, restarts itself, and traps Susan at home using the AI fitted in the house. It then builds a synthetic body in the basement, very Ultron of it. It then takes Susan's cells, synthesizes sperm, and modifies their genetics. It then brainwashes Susan that they must have a child together, and that she will love the child on her own, and she agrees. Proteus impregnates Susan, she conceives and gives birth to a kid within a month, but before she can even see the baby, Proteus takes it away and hides it in an incubator. Alex rushes home, and a wary Susan explains everything to him. The couple finds Proteus, but it self-destructs after telling them the child must remain incubated for 5 days. But the couple destroys the incubator after seeing that the child is a gross-looking robot baby which rises from the machine. The robot armor exterior is removed only for the shocked couple to see a clone of their dead daughter, speaking with Proteus' voice, saying, "I'm alive. I'm alive." The movie is a science fiction horror, and way ahead of its time, considering that the film predicts the future of technology in households. The film has lots of voice-assisted artificial intelligence we now commonly refer to as Alexa or Siri, or Cortana. But it makes one wonder if they got this right. Is the robot baby prediction also accurate? Because that would be truly scary. Number 7. Evil Dead, 1981. College kids Ash, Linda, Scotty, Shelley, and Cheryl vacation in an abandoned cabin in the woods. Yep, they really did that. Cheryl's hand gets possessed when she's drawing, but she doesn't tell anyone about it. During the dinner, the cellar door flies open. Ash and Scotty bravely go Scooby-Doo exploring down the cellar, leaving the girls upstairs. They bring back an Egyptian book of the dead, and the belongings of an archaeologist, and begin messing around with it, evidently having learned nothing from the plethora of horror films. Scotty plays a demonic chant on the recorder, deciding their fate. Like, I don't even know what to say to this. Our dear Cheryl goes out of the cabin to investigate noises. She does the one thing you ought not to do in a horror situation. She gets attacked by possessed trees that rape her. She then escapes and runs away to Ash, who agrees to take her back into town. They go out only to find that the bridge connecting their cabin to the mainland is destroyed, trapping them there for good. Made on a $375,000 budget, this movie has the right amount of humor and horror to tickle and send chills up your bones. The scene where Cheryl gets raped is probably one of the most disgusting scenes in the film. It takes outdoor to a whole new level, as Cheryl is tied up like a starfish by vines, and the tree goes to town on her. Trees have emotions too, one of them being pleasure-driven. It is weird and gross, to the point where even the director regretted putting that scene in the film. However, this Sam Raimi horror debut is a cult classic that delivered well despite the cast doing everything beyond the realm. Number 8. Anti-Birth, 2016. Lou is a raving druggie living in an old trailer outside Michigan. She wakes up after a party experiencing pregnancy symptoms. Her friend Sadie claims she is pregnant, but Lou vehemently denies it, having had a secret miscarriage about 6 months prior. She goes to her cleaning job at a hotel and bumps into Lorna, who notices something off with Lou. Meanwhile, Sadie's drug-dealing pimp boyfriend Gabriel and his friend Warren supply experimental drugs to locals who have gruesome physical reactions, which the pair cover up. Lou hallucinates people from Fun Zone examining her private parts, and wakes up to find her stomach swollen. Lorna turns up at her trailer, claiming clairvoyance, and talks about her discharge from the military because they wouldn't believe her abduction by an unknown entity. Lou confronts Warren and finds out about Isaac, who deals women in exchange for drug sales. Lou goes back to the abandoned warehouse where she had a party before things went downhill, and remembered being injected with something. Sadie confesses that Gabriel used Lou as a guinea pig for their experimental drug. Lorna tries to give Lou a C-section back at the trailer, but Lou gives birth to a gory alien head. Isaac reveals that they're from the military, trying to create a new alien race from outer space on Earth, and Lou's body was a viable host because of all the drug use. Lou refuses to be any part of this madness, when her entire cytoskeleton gushes out of her body. The new headless alien kills Gabriel and Isaac. The movie is a classic alien insemination tale revamped. Number 9. NEKROMANTIK, 1987. Robert works at a street cleaning agency that picks up after accidents. Why he works here is clearly explained when he steps into his house and meets his girlfriend, Betty. Their house is adorned with pictures of serial killers and little jars of formaldehyde containing human parts. They're not serial killers, just your usual necrophiliacs. So imagine the joy on Betty's face when her boyfriend brings home a perfectly dead, rotten lump of human that was once a gardener struck in an accidental misfire. The body was perfect in all aspects except one, it missed the man part. You can always cut off a wooden chair's leg, ram it into the dead guy's crotch, put a condom on it, and have hot steamy menage a trois time. Just like Betty and Robert did. Their beautiful life goes awry the next day when Robert gets fired from his job for being tardy and not cleaning up after himself. Betty gets pissed and leaves, taking the dead guy with her. This makes Robert mad, and he kills their cat and bathes in its blood. Later, Robert tries to have pills and excess alcohol to end things, but he wakes up from a dream. So he hires a prostitute and gets it on in a cemetery, but he can't get it up, and she mocks him for it. He strangles her, and that's all it takes to get his freak on. The gravedigger finds them much later, and Robert casually decapitates him, goes frolicking gleefully back home, and stabs himself as he jerks off. This West German film is straight up nasty. So, all you gorehounds can feast on this one. The movie spares no atrocity. This movie should have a trigger warning saying, "Don't eat anything before, during, or after, because you will puke it." That was all in this video. Do hang around for more film and pop culture content. What was your favorite movie from this list? Let us know in the comments. Stay safe and have a good one.